Hi guys, Mark DeVoe. Welcome back to this channel, A Conscious Time, and welcome back to this channel, but welcome to this video on how we manifest or create negatively by default. So this is a thought-provoking discussion, concepts, ideas, and you can take the point of this channel. These videos are to uplift, give way to the illusion of fear and guilt and doubt, and then that naturally allows for the veil to be lifted and your God-given natural inheritance of being whole and perfect in this present moment to come forth. So it's meant to and you can verify these things by going out there and experiencing them. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can listen to what I'm saying. I corroborate, experience all the things that I have done in my life, and I'm not going to list those things. You can just take these words and you can go out and experience them, and you can verify it for yourself. If it adds value to your lives and you feel it could add value to other people's lives, please like, share, and subscribe, and let's spread the positive goodness into the world. And we bridge pragmatic or real world, or I wouldn't even say real world, navigating this world, bridging spirituality as well. So the point is to have tangible concepts that you can go out and actually see the effect, not airy fairy concepts that you have no idea what I'm talking about, but you can actually go and see these. You're the cause. You can see the cause and effect of these things. So let's just jump into it. And so this was inspired by events in my life, and then I draw on, which I have been doing lately, from A Course in Miracles. You can check out some of my videos where I speak about that, a profound book, so you'd have to read that to really understand, to actually experience that. But you can listen to these videos and what I'm talking about to broaden the horizon, and then you can go and practice these things and see it in truth and action. And also inspired by Neville Goddard. I always fall Neville Goddard. I always fall back to Neville Goddard. So I'll put that in the description as well. So I'm going to start off with a quote from A Course in Miracles. There are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. And in another quote or piece of text from A Course in Miracles, there is no more self-contradictory concept than that of idle thoughts. What gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. Every thought you have contributes to truth or illusion. Either it extends the truth or multiplies illusions. So pretty profound statements. So these videos always starts out simple, but they actually, or in my mind I should say, or inspired, but they end up being quite deep. So I want to try and keep it as simple and tangible so that you can just take this video, listen to it quickly, and go and apply it. That's the point of it. And to go and apply it in that we are abundant and success and harmony and all the good things, and not be overwhelmed by fear and guilt, which are illusions. And that's what A Course in Miracles actually talks about, and that's what these concepts, or that's what it's alluding to in these texts that I just read, where it says what gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle, because this world is based on perception, and once you know that the power that you have to create, and every thought is ultimately not idle, then you will start being accountable and aware of the thoughts that you have. All right. So, and you can test this out. You don't have to go too far to test this out, because you can see in relationships. If you take an example of, if you look at testing this out in terms of going back to the title, how we manifest and create negatively, that's a default, and you can test this out by watching your thoughts, sitting down, watching your thoughts. So this takes a level of awareness. You can meditate on this, or you can just sit in a quiet place and just watch your thoughts around maybe a relationship you're in, your work environment, something about yourself. You can sit with these things, choose one of them, and just see quickly the natural thoughts that come up about that situation. And I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that that's going to be balanced or not balanced, steering towards a more pessimistic, negative side of things. And there's obviously reasons for this. So let's just unpack that. And this was inspired by a situation. I mentioned this in my previous video when I had an encounter. Well, I was dealing with a deal that I wanted to come, to fruition, and I started playing in my head that if it doesn't come to fruition, or I don't close this particular deal, what would happen? And I caught myself realizing the slightly negative scenarios that I started playing out in my mind. And through awareness, so you've got to become aware of your thoughts, I caught those thoughts and I saw them for what they were. And it actually had not happened. But a lot of the time we think it's a natural state to think along these negative side or these negative ways, because we think it's being realistic or realism, because this is the world we find ourselves in. Whereas we need to take back our creative power and start switching that, going back to A Course in Miracles, there are no idle thoughts, and realizing your creative power, how we can switch those thoughts to now create the outcome that we ultimately want, and not being subject, but being creative, which is God-given. So, you've got to become aware of these things. So I caught those thoughts in that moment, and it hadn't happened. So why my natural default a lot of the time steered towards that negative way of thinking. So I'm sure you could see that the same for yourself. So please give me your sharings on that, and how you find that, how you deal with things and the thoughts that crop up in your different situations, how you naturally find yourself going to a negative situation. Okay, so it's good. Don't judge that thought, just capture that thought, and now requalify it, if we could say that. Okay, so, and I can pretty much guarantee that this is most of the time for most people, because once you know about the ego, and I've mentioned this before from A Course in Miracles, the ego is the thought illusory false system. It's the fear, it's the scarcity mindset, it's the demise, it's the oh woe is me, it's the separate thought system from God. God is giving you everything, and you share your will and your thought system with God. Once you align with that, you don't have those negative thoughts. That's obviously the highest calling. But once you understand about the thought system of the ego, and you don't have to understand the ego because it's chaotic, but just knowing that there is such a thought system as the ego, that is grounded in negativity, and most of us are operating in that. But the good thing about that is it's a false, illusory thought system. So that's the beauty of that. So, and then this brings up, which I've mentioned in a few of my videos, I must slow that down. I always bring up the Neville Goddard quote, or what he said in one of those videos. I can't remember which one it was. Neville, Josiah Brand does the readings on YouTube for Neville Goddard, so check that out. I'll put a link in the description. But Neville Goddard said, you're always expressing yourself, or you're perfectly expressing yourself, either consciously or unconsciously. But you have to start knowing that you've got power in creative thoughts and how you're creating the world around you. Once you realize that, you start realizing you have been living your life perfectly, creating consciously or unconsciously. Okay, so that's by Neville Goddard. The reason why we think that things are normal is because we've been this way of thinking, or falling back to that default negative way of thinking, is because we are inundated by negativity all the time. Let's be honest, this is a fairly negative world. That's not fear mongering. You need to become aware of this. A level deeper, and I would say this should be uplifting. And a quote comes to me from what Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. So this world is maybe never intended to be anything else. I know that's a little bit, that might hit home with some people or ruffle some feathers, but it's just something to think about. Once you can become aware that this world does put forth quite a bit of negativity, and we can see it in the drama. We buy into drama. We subscribe to drama. I mean, you can look at the channels, the social media that what are you following, and the movies that you're watching. You know, you can look at Netflix and Prime, and you're inundated with a relative negativity. So this is not to be fear-mongering. It's to become aware and then take back your God-given power, because we have been given release. So I'm going to jump into that now on some actions and helpful techniques, so that you can walk away from this video and apply this into your life. So the question is, you know, if you want to manifest positive outcomes, then, you know, maybe ask yourself some of these questions. What are you allowing in your space or in your mind? So give that some thought. You know, you have to become highly aware of this. You know, are you listening to that inner voice, the ego? It's a negative voice. If it's a negative voice, know that it's not the true you. But are you listening to that all the time? You might justify that in certain ways, but ultimately, if it's negative, it's not the real you, and there's no justification for that at all. So rest assured, if it's overwhelming, if it's guilt, if it's fear, anything like that, you don't have to worry, because that is not the true you. So that's something to think about. You know, we've been conditioned by this world as well. And you know, again, going back to what I said before, what drama are you buying into? What are you fueling in your life? As I mentioned, you know, look at your YouTube feed, look at what you're watching. Are you watching Netflix? And then what are you watching on Netflix? Is it, you know, you look at some of the movies that are on Netflix, they look pretty oppressive and pretty gruesome and dark, and I'm sure there's some good content out there. And I'm sure on your YouTube feed as well, there's, you know, if you're following a positive, uplifting feed, it's going to feed that back to you. So it's just about actually using technology, using social media, using what is out there to create that positive outcome that you want, not being subject to it and not allowing that into your space, because ultimately you are choosing what you are putting in your mind. So you are what you eat. And that goes for your mind. What your brain, your mind, I wouldn't say your spirit, but your brain and your mind is whatever you're going to put in is going to come out. So you have to control consciously what you're putting into your mind and your heart, your soul, so that will come out the other side, like a computer. You know, garbage in, garbage out. I think that's the computer lingo. And then, yeah, just to end off on a level deeper, you know, you have to know the creative power that you've been given by God. The key is that awareness, and know that you have the creative power. Once you know that, then nothing has power over you. You have been given everything, the abundance, the keys to the kingdom. And again, I'm not trying to fearmonger. Our default is a negative manifestation. So or a negative outlook. So if it's generally negative, we're going to start manifesting creative negativity in our lives, and then look at what you've created. And don't blame the outside world. Look at what you have created internally or allowed into your space. And that's not to be judgmental. It's to take back your power to now flip that. And the most important takeaway is that, and just to reiterate, the negative voice is not the real you. And a level deeper, being led by the Holy Spirit is going to guide your mind, your mind and soul in the right way, in that positive way, and guide your thinking, your manifesting into that power, your positive outcome that you ultimately want. So you can start to create in your mind positive outcomes firstly, create the thing that you want in your mind. Think of the thing that you want in your mind. Let it go. Non-attachment, no guilt, no fear, and allow that to come forth. So yeah, I hope that makes a lot of sense. I think we'll leave it at that. Hopefully I've ticked all the boxes, and hopefully this has been understandable. The point is to realize that you've been given the keys to the kingdom. You've been given the creative power. You've been given everything. Nothing has power over you. And you can now create the world you want to live. You can now censor what comes into your space consciously. you don't want to live in a certain way, you do want to live in this way. Ultimately, let's hope it's positive, it's uplifting, it's sharing, it's love, it's extension. Then you can choose what is coming into your mind and your space, and you can reject what is and it's quite challenging, because it's a challenging world. If you actually look at it, it's a very challenging world, with especially what's going on. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of fear mongering, there's a lot of this going on there. So you've got to equip yourself, you've got to renew your mind every single day. So let's end off on that. Let me like, share, subscribe if it's added value, and we'll check you on the next one.